You ever feel guilty about things that you've done? And has feeling guilty led to a positive outcome or changed your behavior? Probably not. It just left you feeling crummy and stuck. That's why today I'm going to show you why guilt is the most ridiculous thing you can let yourself fall for. I'm going to show you a different option, a different path that will lead you to a positive outcome and a real change in your behavior for the better. Coming up. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, helping you get in touch with your true self, that part of you that is full of love, happiness, and abundance. Everything that you're looking for, but unconsciously, usually in all the wrong places. Here we show you exactly where to find it and how easy it is to have it in your life consistently. So if that's what you're looking for, make sure to subscribe and follow along. Now today, let's talk about guilt. Now, guilt is something that we all do. We are all programmed to think that it is a good thing to feel guilty. And we use it to change our behavior. We use it to motivate ourselves. I mean, it makes sense. If we do something bad, if we're being naughty in a way, then if we don't feel guilty, then that bad behavior will persist, right? So feeling bad is like an agent to change. I mean, it makes sense. And that's what so many people have told us. Religions, most of them will tell us this. Our parents, society all around us. And the thing is, it is a flat out lie. Because look, I can tell you just from my own experience, I used to have the most outrageous behavior, the most extreme temper tantrums. I would scream at the top of my lungs so that neighbors 3 blocks away could hear me. And I would smash things, I'd break windows, break things around the house. And then I would feel really bad about it because, I upset my family around me. I'd break expensive things. I'd make myself look like a fool. But feeling guilty about it didn't change the behavior, didn't stop those temper tantrums. In fact, what it did was it put me on this roller coaster ride because every time that I acted out, I did something wrong, and then I felt bad about it, I was pushing down those feelings. I'd push down whatever it was that got me activated to begin with. And it's like, that's wrong, that aggression, that anger, that's bad. So I would try to hold it down. But I was actually holding on to it, and it would build up more and more and more until I would explode again. And then I feel bad about it, and then I'd go through the whole cycle and just go through it again and again and again. This went on in my life for decades. And this shows that guilt does not produce change. In fact, it locks in the bad behavior. And what's even worse is we use guilt as a substitute for making a change. I know this might sound a little bit strange, but it's true. Because the other option is to just let go of the bad behavior. And we can. I'm going to show you in a second how to do that. But we can just let it go. Just leave it in the past and move on and focus on the positive result. But what happens when we feel guilty? We're dwelling on the problem. We're thinking about how bad we are. And when we hold this story in our mind, guess what? We repeat that story again and again and again. That's why it doesn't go away. And what's even crazier, and this will also prove how bad and detrimental getting into the state of guilt is seeing how it's weaponized by people in our society. You see all these people trying to make others, maybe even you, feel bad because of your beliefs or your behavior, pointing their fingers, saying, shame on you for contributing to the problems in society. Shame on you for contributing to the problems of the environment. Shame, shame, shame. Now, why are they doing that? They're getting you to feel bad, to go down into a lower emotional energy. Why? So then they can control you. They can manipulate you, push you around. And they do that by getting you to feel bad about yourself. Now, if you look clearly on that, that should show you that this is a mechanism of the ego, and it's moving in a negative direction. And you don't have to fall for that. I'm going to show you how to move in a different direction so that you don't have to be pushed around by others telling you that you should feel guilty. And you don't have to fall for your own patterns and stories that get you feeling guilty about things that you've done. You know, whether they're big things, and we all do big things that are bad. Big deal. We can change that behavior. And we also do it for little things, like we feel guilty because we weren't productive enough during the day, or we missed making a phone call to somebody. Just little things. And then we feel bad about it. But these little instances of feeling bad, they pile up, and then they develop into a big story, a big pattern of us feeling like we're no good, self-sabotaging ourselves, and so on. So let's turn it all around and move in a different direction to get to the destination that we really want. All right? So think about something that you're guilty about. And maybe it's something that you've been feeling guilty about for a long time. Maybe something that you did years and years ago, and you're still feeling bad about it. Now let me just ask you, just a simple, discerning question. How does it help you to feel guilty? Seriously. Does it really change your behavior? Or does it get you to suppress and play small, close yourself up? That's what we do sometimes, because we don't know what the positive option is, so we just shut down. And that's our solution, which is not a solution. Now notice that feeling of guilt. Just feel it for a moment now. And notice your typical reaction to it. To go, oh, it doesn't feel good. Get that out of here. And see if you've been fighting with that guilt. Judging it, judging the feeling, wanting it to not be in the same space with you. So basically, you're saying no to the guilt. Now, when you say no to that guilt, when you fight with it, when you suppress it, does that make it go away? No. It keeps coming up again and again and again. All you have to do is just think about that thing and then, I feel bad again. Right? So saying no to it doesn't help. So let's try something a little bit different. Get in touch with the guilt. But first, measure that guilt on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being the most guilty. Like, oh my God, I can't believe what I've done. I'm such a horrible person. Right? Or 0 to, none at all. Right? So on that scale of 0 to 10, just measure how guilty you feel about this situation, this thing that you're thinking of. All right, you got that? Now, look at that guilt. And notice what you measured is a feeling, like a sensation. And it's not even like a physical sensation. It's just like this feeling, this nebulous experience. Can't really locate it, define it, but you feel it, right? And you measured it. Now, instead of saying no to this feeling, could you say yes to it? Just look at it and say yes to it. Try it out. Could you say yes to the guilt? And could you say yes to it even more? And could you say yes to it even more? And could you say yes to it even more? And even more. And could you say yes to it even more? And even more. And say yes to it even more. Just look at it, say yes. Y-E-S, that's it. And say yes to it even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And could you say yes to it even more? Now, measure yourself again. And see if you moved on that scale of 0 to 10. See if that number dropped. Even if it's just 1 point. Just notice if it's different now. And notice if you feel a little bit lighter. You feel a little bit more positive, a little bit more loving, a little bit more open and spacious. Now that's showing you that you're moving in a positive direction. And this is where you now start moving toward a solution rather than staying stuck, dwelling in the problem. Because as you know, whatever you dwell on becomes your reality. You actually create it. That's what they call the law of attraction. And the problem is they don't tell you how to stop dwelling on the negative. They just say, only focus on the positive. But unless you take your attention and pull your energy out of the negativity that you're feeding into it, you're never going to really be able to keep your attention on the positive. And if you ever tried that and you've seen yourself, okay, I'm positive, but then I forget. I'm positive, but then, I can't, keep focusing on it. It's because you got this negative energy funneling into stuff like feeding the guilt and other things. And that's what you have to pay attention to, take responsibility for, and turn around. And this is how simple it is. It's just looking at the thing that you don't like the guilt or that situation, and just say yes to it. See, yes is positive, and it pulls you out of it so you can now move to achieving a positive result. All right? So take a look at that guilt. Take a look at that situation specifically. Now, you've been saying yes to the feeling of guilt. Now, take a look at that situation. And you see the guilt itself is saying no to it. Oh, that's bad. No, and no, and no to that situation. And that doesn't change the situation. So look, we're going to take the same approach. And I know to the mind this might not make sense. It's like, wait, if I say yes to the situation, then I'm just promoting it. That is not what I want to do. But look, you know what you get by saying no to the situation. It doesn't change it. And saying yes, first of all, it really doesn't mean that you're agreeing with it. You're just saying yes to be loving. And love doesn't hurt anything. Doesn't hurt anything at all. So try it out. Take a look at that situation. Whatever behavior, whatever actions that you've done, even if it's really something that you shouldn't be doing, just take a look at it and say yes to it. And say yes to a little bit more. And say yes to a little bit more. And say yes to it a little bit more. And say yes to it even more. And even more. And say yes to it even more. And even more. And say yes to it even more. Just yes, that's all. And say yes to it even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And notice how you feel now. Just notice if you feel a little bit more open and free and not so bound to that situation, like you're stuck with it? Do you feel a bit freer now? See, that's the power and simplicity of just saying yes. Now, one final thing. Take a look to see if you've been disapproving of yourself. Because it's basically what you do when you feel guilty. You're beating yourself up. Now, how does it help you to beat yourself up? It doesn't help you. And it doesn't help anybody else, right? Like if you've done something wrong to somebody and you beat yourself up for it, it doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change you really from doing it again. All it does is it just gets you feeling bad, and it doesn't change anything for the other person. How does it help them for you to beat yourself up? Doesn't change their situation. If you did something bad, beating yourself up isn't helping you, it isn't helping them. So, look, if you're doing it now and it doesn't help you, look at the other option. The other option is choosing to love yourself. Now, which would you prefer? Would you rather be negative and beat yourself up? Or would you rather be positive and be loving? Loving yourself and loving the other one. Which do you prefer? So, first, could you let go of beating yourself up? Could you let go of disapproving of yourself? Could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? Could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? It's just a decision. Yes or no. Just decide. And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And even more. And how does that feel? Don't you feel lighter? Now, since love doesn't hurt anything, could you give yourself some love and approval? And a little bit more. And could you give yourself a little bit more love and approval? Just because. No reason. Just because you can. Could you love yourself? And could you love yourself a little bit more? And could you love yourself a little bit more? And even more. And even more. And could you love yourself even more? And even more. And how does that feel? Now, just notice. Do you feel like you're supporting, you're reinforcing the bad behavior? Or do you feel like you're rising above it into a higher energy where it doesn't affect you? It doesn't grab you and control you, that behavior. Just notice. And this is what it's all about. To move up into a higher energy. And you did it yourself, just right here, with a few simple decisions. To let go of beating yourself up, let go of being negative, and then deciding to be loving. To be positive. And what this means is the power is in your hands all the time. It always has been. The power to change yourself and move in a positive direction. Right? So now, one final thing. Take a look at that situation that you're guilty about. What would be a positive outcome moving forward? Just take a look at that. Get that picture of being in a positive space where that situation is resolved, whether it's behavior, it's gone, and if there's somebody else involved, they're happy, they're satisfied, everybody's happy. Just get that picture. What would that look like? Where everybody's on an equal positive stance. Because isn't that what we're really looking for? And it should be clear now that we don't get there by being negative, by beating ourselves up or suggesting others beat themselves up. That's just ridiculous. We get there by moving in the direction of love. That's how you stay focused on the positive and attract what you really want into your life. So, could you give yourself some more love and approval right now? For no reason, just because. Just because it's today. And could you give yourself some more love and approval? And could you give yourself some more love and approval? And even more. And even more. And even more. And could you give that situation more love and approval now? And even more. And even more. And even more. And if there's another person involved or other people, could you give them love and approval now? Just love them. And some more. And even more. And could you love them even more? And even more. And even more. And how does this feel? This is the source of harmony. This is exactly how you create it. Just like this. So keep practicing this. Keep moving forward. Keep being loving. And watch what happens in your life. You've got it in you. You can make the positive change in your life, and it doesn't have to take time. You can do it now just by making the smart decisions and staying on top of it. Not falling back into negative patterns, but just staying present, keep loving yourself, and the more you do it, the more present you become, the more positive you become. It gets easier and easier and easier, and your life gets easier. So keep practicing it, all right? Oh, by the way, if you're in the New York area or you're planning on traveling there this October, I'm holding a 3-day class called The Weekend of Awakening, which, if you are like most people that are subscribed to this channel, you're on a spiritual path. You're looking for self-realization, self-awareness. And like most of us on this path, the destination seems endless. We don't have a clear picture of how or when we will get there. But the truth is, this beautiful destination is closer than you think. And if you've ever listened to Lester Levinson, Eckhart Tolle, or any of these masters, they'll all tell you it's simple and it's easy. You're already there. You're already unlimited. And that's what we're going to prove out in this Weekend of Awakening. Just how simple and easy it is, and exactly what you need to focus on in order to get there, to complete the job. So I'll leave a link to it below in the description. I'll put a link up here. So check it out and join me for the Weekend of Awakening. And keep practicing loving yourself, and I'll see you on the next video.